We got a big Derrick White contract update. He's due for an extension with the Celtics within the next week, and some sources say he could be getting up to $30 million a year. We'll be diving into that, plus Jrue Holiday and Al Horford speak out about potentially coming off the bench for the Celtics this year. That and much more on this episode of Celtics Digest. But if you are one of the thousands of people, one of the 89% of people watching this video that are not subscribed to the channel, and you like the videos we do here, you like the daily Boston Celtics news, rumors, reactions, everything like that, click the subscribe button because we'll have this all season long. Before we get into those other topics, Bruce, I want to talk first a bit about Payton Pritchard. And he speaks out about the Celtics practices. Now, we've heard since, throughout the end of this offseason, especially since Jrue Holiday got here to Boston, the Boston Celtics practices have gotten pretty intense. And Payton Pritchard said that there's another change. He said that the Celtics practices have involved more of a group setting this season, more group work rather than individual stuff like it was in the past. He's a big fan of the new environment, and Mazzulla said he changed it because games are played 5-on-5. Yeah, they are, not 1-on-1. He wants to simulate more game-like actions at practices and foster teamwork and togetherness. Now, Bruce, this sounds pretty great to me. When you read this, what was your opinion? Because to me, I feel like it's purely logical, right?
This is a smart move by Joe Mazzulla, in my opinion. I'm excited to see the Celtics core, and we've been hearing rumors of Joe Mazzulla feeling more comfortable at practices with the teams in recent weeks. News from Payton Pritchard, guys like Sam Hauser, some guys like Al Horford have said they felt more comfortable, and it feels like a more structured practice, which makes me feel comfortable with Joe Mazzulla being the head coach. It seems like he's getting more comfortable and actually finding out his role, and the players are actually respecting him more, not just getting thrown with him as the head coach and then just having to follow his rules, which I think is great for the Celtics as we're a championship contending team. We obviously want to be pushing for the title, and we need this synergy between our players and our coaches to be all in one to be pushing for that title. And I think that this is a great outlook for the Celtics if they're playing, 5-on-5s on practice, working on each other. Guys like Eddie House were saying that the Celtics need to beat up on these starters with their bench guys so that their bench guys feel more confident. And I think Joe Mazzulla is doing the right thing with that.
Yeah, and it's never a bad thing to have your full lineups becoming more familiar with each other. Like, yes, that happens within games, but in games, there's a high pressure environment, your adjustments, like, very hit or miss, right? But if you're practicing with each other, a lineup of five all the time in practice, you get a bit of familiarity, you get a bit of chemistry, right? And just being able to know kind of, if Jayson Tatum is playing with Payton Pritchard more in practice, they might maybe understand each other's behaviors a little bit better. So, yeah, you're very right. And I think it's a really good thing to do for any team in the NBA. More like to hear that it was pretty much mostly individual based in the past is a bit confusing to me. I don't know if that's the norm for every NBA team, but regardless, this is great news for Celtics fans. And yeah, it's just another little step towards a championship caliber team. But not only that, Bruce, we got more talk about people maybe coming off the bench, and we have heard speculation. Of course, the article's coming out from Zach Lowe saying he thinks Holiday could come off the bench, and they asked Holiday straight up today, and here's what he had to say. Bobby Manning asked Jrue Holiday if starting's important to him. He said, it's not that big of a deal. I like winning. It's not always how you start, it's how you finish. He also said Horford has said everyone is open to playing multiple roles. Holiday said starting isn't important, and White has always been amicable to any role. It seems like the door is fully open for Mazzulla to try his starter by committee or matchups approach, and this is kind of what we speculated, Bruce, but to hear that again is really awesome because it's not just these three guys that have talked about that. Look, we know Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are going to start every single game they're available, but Porzingis has said a similar thing. He's like, hey, if I got to play fewer minutes depending on the matchup, doesn't matter. I just want to win. And to have all of these guys just saying, hey, if they want me to come off the bench, if it makes more sense, yeah, I mean, I'm down to do it. I want to win a title. And this championship mentality seems to be spreading within the Celtics locker room.
I totally agree. And I love that the Celtics are going to have no starting lineup, like a core starting lineup, because I think it adds the versatility of the team and adds kind of a game plan for how these other teams are going to plan against us. It's going to be a little difficult for them to gauge how the Celtics are going to come out if we have a new starting lineup every single game. Obviously, we're going to have to use, double big lineups sometimes. We'll have to use some smaller guard lineups depending on that. Even on back-to-backs, we might see a guy who's a little bit older like Horford or Porzingis get a little bit more rest on that night just because they want to be safe going into the season with not the strongest front court. But having the versatility of Holiday coming off the bench or White coming off the bench, I think adds to the Celtics game. And I think in late game situations, obviously, some guys will be on the court depending on fouls or not. But I think this will at least like bridge a little bit differently for other teams to game plan against us. I think it's going to be harder for a team that has double bigs if we're running Horford and Kristaps the whole game and we switch to a smaller lineup. They might have to switch to a smaller lineup to come keep with us with the pace, and that might screw up their mojo as well.
Yeah, it gives a bit of an unpredictability, right? Like, and to have that is very important, especially when you start talking playoffs and you talk a lot of games that are very matchup based, right? Any little advantage you can create is going to give you well, I can say any little advantage is going to make a big difference, but a little advantage can give you a big advantage, right? And to have these guys be willing to do this, and it doesn't even necessarily just mean, oh, Jrue Holiday could be a super six man. It could also mean that, oh, for this stretch of the game, we want to save Holiday for this, or right, oh, we're just going to immediately do a little matchup switch, and these guys are not going to be upset by that, right? Now, again, it's going to be all up to Joe Mazzulla and his coaching rotations for sure. It's not going to be easy, but very cool to see this championship mentality, and yeah, it'll be very curious to see some of the lineups we see this season. Final topic of today, and the big one, is a bit of Derrick White news. Now, we've just mentioned Derrick White. We got a big contract update, and as a lot of you know, Derrick White's up for an extension. According to Himmelsbach, he said Derrick White's extension talks continue, but the deadline's inching closer. They have a week from today until October 23rd, 11:59 p.m. He currently has 2 years left on a $70 million deal over 4 years. He signed with San Antonio. And there are some people speculating he could get the max the Celtics could offer him, and that's about $29-30 million over 3 years, securing him till 2028. And I think a lot of people, when they see that $30 million price tag, Bruce, that he very well could get, I think he's going to get paid big. They're kind of like, oh, that's a lot of money. But in today's NBA climate, with the salary cap and with the value that Derrick White brings, would you be comfortable locking him up for another 5 years, including his current deal, at that price tag?
I would definitely feel comfortable locking up a guy like Derrick White. Obviously, I think, and you thought as well, he was snubbed from the ESPN Top 100. Oh, yeah. So we think he's a deserving NBA player. And I think that his role was increased last year with the Celtics, having problems with Brogdon, having problems with Smart in the playoffs, and he showed up for that role, and that's why the Celtics indeed to keep him, and they're still looking to extend him, even though they traded for Jrue Holiday. Mm-hmm. Obviously, some people are going to think, oh, they just got Jrue Holiday, they shouldn't pay Derrick White, they should just keep him on their cheaper deal, but keeping these guards insured on this roster is what the Celtics need for the future if they want to win this championship, and like you said, it would be in a 3-year extension, so it'd be to 2028, so that would keep him on this window for at least 5 years for the Celtics to be pushing for a title, and I believe that's the smartest move for the Celtics, and I know I'm not the only one that agrees that, because I know that my grandma would definitely agree with me on that as well, because she's a huge Derrick White fan.
We all love the Buffalo, right? I mean, we all aspire to be the Buffalo, especially if he's making $30 million. But, you know, like, he's just so key to this team. He's had so many crucial moments for this team already, and he's really one of those guys that a lot of people don't value him as much as they should because they don't see him play. And there's a lot of guys like that in the NBA, but his numbers maybe don't jump off the stat page, but his impact when you watch him is so significant. There's a reason he's all defense, and there's a reason that other players admire him too. D'Angelo Russell today, in an interview, said his inspiration defensively is Derrick White. He wants to be Derrick White. He said White doesn't get a lot of credit for what he does. He makes all the winning plays. That's what I want to be. And it's not often you hear an NBA player say, I'm modeling my game after another active NBA player, let alone a guy like Derrick White, who is certainly not a superstar by any stretch of the imagination. So, you know, we always sing Derrick White's praises, and for good reason. He's an all-defensive guy. He had that clutch put-back basket, right? Like, he has done so much for the Boston Celtics, but to hear that other players value him as high as we do is a pretty good feeling.
Exactly. I totally agree. And it's not like it's a guy like Jrue Holiday or Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, one of the main 4 guys on the Celtics that he's praising. He's praising a guy, like you said, who's a good role piece for the Celtics, but isn't like the top guy. And many people think is disrespected for not being in the top 100. I'm sure that D'Angelo Russell would agree. And also, D'Angelo Russell isn't the best defensive player either. So the fact that he's like trying to mirror his game and learn from another NBA player that's made all defensive teams in the past shows that maybe Russell wants to expand his game a bit and actually develop that as well, which is good for him. But I love to hear that Derrick White is his inspiration, because Derrick White's just a normal guy that's chill and relaxed and just wants to play basketball. It seems like for the Celtics, it's not like he's going out there looking for the best stats. And that's the type of guys that you want to role model after. Those are the guys that are the best players for the NBA.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, D'Lo knows, like, he's like, yeah, I'm not the best defender, but I want to improve. And you can already see his hustle is improving. And, you know, as much as I don't want to praise someone like D'Angelo Russell, we're on the West Coast. You know, we try not to talk about those teams too much. But, hey, it's always cool when he's praising Derrick White. And, hey, if I have to ever give a thumbs up to a Lakers guy, I'm going to give him thumbs up there because it's pretty cool. But, yeah, shout out Derrick White. What do you guys think of this? Do you think $30 million is too much for Derrick White on a 3-year contract? Let us know down below. We'd love to hear from you, your thoughts about this Derrick White extension. But that'll do it for this news episode of Celtics Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to flash it up. 90% of you guys watching, are you still here? If you're still here and you're part of that 90%, why haven't you hit the button? It doesn't make any sense. But we really appreciate your support, and we hope you stick around for many, many more videos to come. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Bruce Veliz. We'll catch you in the next one.